industry has witnessed a lot of movement in the last couple of months, but one move got a lot of people to raise their brows. I'm talking about Partha Sinha's move from Publicis to McCann as its vice chairman and managing director. The move came as a bit of a surprise given that Sinha joined Publicis along with Bobby Pawar, who is known to be his closest friend and partner in crime, only in 2013. And as recently as July 2015, the duo were elevated. So what was trigger for the move given that Sinha was enjoying a good innings and add to that with a partner of his choice? Well, who better than Partha Sinha himself to answer these questions? Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, Partha. Truly a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Let me start by congratulating you on this, big move that you've made going to McCann and partnering Prasoon Joshi. It has actually come as a bit of a surprise to most of us who are watching this industry, given that, there is no real trigger unless, you're going to come clean on the show today saying that you were unhappy and, Publicis was not treating you well. But what was the reason really?
I wish I could say all of that to satisfy people. But, unfortunately, that's not true. Publicis was treating me brilliantly and, Bobby and I go along legendarily well together. So the point is, everybody every time tried to analyze a move by saying what's going wrong. When I took the decision, it was not based on what I was not getting there.
Sure.
But more in terms of whether I can play in another canvas and, paint a slightly different picture.
Right. So can I safely say that the McCann's offer was so tempting and given the fact that it was a much larger canvas, given the fact that they have a lot of high-profile brands, made you actually consider this offer very seriously?
More than that, when Prasoon and I spoke, we spoke about certain things and certain dreams and certain ambitions which resonated really, really, really well.
Right. But, we all know about your equation with Bobby Pawar, and you and he are very close friends. And, when you all joined together, there was one reason you all joined together as well, because you all would be partnering each other. How is your relationship with Prasoon? Is it that you all have been friends for a long time and this is now evolving from a personal to a professional friendship as well?
I met Bobby in Ogilvy. And, when we were slightly younger kids and we didn't know any better, we used to work together and we liked each other's work. So that's how friendship grew. Exactly happened the same way with Prasoon. In fact, it happened more closely with Prasoon because there was a time when Prasoon and me were in the same geography. Both of us were in Delhi. And we did some, legendary work together. And again, we are young people, we are trying new things. And the most important thing is we still like what each of us do. If you want one line answer to that,
yeah.
In advertising it's fashionable to give one line answers. It would be to play in another canvas. It's a very different canvas and I want to play in that canvas and see where it goes.
Where do you foresee the challenges for this agency to really step up and go to the next level?
Okay, this I would say is not just McCann's challenge. This would possibly be the industry's challenge. I think the next stage would be to see that how you can grow skill set, how you can grow different levels of engagement and thereby, do the partnership with client at a slightly different level than just, doing communication solution. So there has always traditionally been an intellectual side of McCann, which you have seen over a period of time. And I think one of my key attraction was also that there's a very strong intellectual side of McCann. And I think that would help, this organization to do a slightly, bigger engagement with client, grow the, engagement level and depth with the client. And obviously that should eventually result in better revenue, better growth, better reputation.
So just to ask you a question that will put you in the spot, I hope you don't dodge it, but I'm pretty sure you will. If you were given the top job in terms of, Nakul's job at Publicis, would that have stopped you from making this move? Hypothetically.
It's a bad hypothesis, because I don't think it's like based on any truth. Let me be very categorical about this. In different parts of one's career, one tries to do slightly different thing and, be a part of a slightly bigger program and stuff like that. This move of mine is primarily basis that. I don't think it was just a job title or like just another job, which is the story. The story is what do you want to do, like what kind of stuff you want to engage yourself in.
Sure.
So in that, I thought the conversation that I had with Prasoon made a tremendous like impact on me.
That's exactly what I'm trying to dip into. That conversation with Prasoon that got you so excited to actually make this move.
This is a lot of this is about future plan and stuff like that, which typically, like, I mean, not only an advertising agency, but nobody will speak about. I mean, if you have thought of something and if you want to achieve that, you will not usually speak like publicly about it, because you want to like put together your strategy, execute it, and then publicly talk, saying, this is what we have been thinking and this is what we have, where we have reached.
So what is the mandate for you?
Simple.
As Vice Chairman.
Okay, simple. It's one word, growth. But when I say growth, it doesn't mean only revenue growth.
Okay.
Revenue growth I think revenue growth is a end result of many of the other growth. So number one, growth in skill set. McCann has very good reputation. If you can grow it further, it can, like only become, like outstanding and a kind of force to reckon with. Also, growth in engagement level. So the way we are engaging
with your external
clients,
stakeholders.
No, with my clients primarily.
Yeah.
So growth at engagement level. So yeah, growth is the theme, but I think revenue growth is a result of all the other growth.
Sure. And when you say growth and engagement levels, what exactly do you mean by that?
See, today, when a client has a problem, you end up solving only part of it as a communication partner.
Sure.
You can actually solve a lot more of it, and thereby, like sort of grow your level of engagement, grow your depth of relationship.
There's been a lot of movement that we are seeing in the industry. Do you think this is a good sign, or do you think these are unstable times? Because before you there, we've seen a lot of announcements, and all these tenures are not very long tenures, right? They're short tenures. So is this a good sign for agencies whose management keeps changing, or do you think that there will be some challenges going forward?
You can call it dynamism on the one end, maybe fickleness on the other
exactly.
end. Like it's the
two
same end of
coin.
the same end of the like two ends of the same
Sticks.
spectrum.
Yeah.
So I think loyalty is a flawed concept. As a conceptual level, loyalty is a flawed concept.
Are you extending that theory to all forms of loyalty or only professional?
In fact, there's a big conversation around consumer loyalty. Consumer loyalty is a completely flawed concept. Many people are proving it, because you actually grow your market share by selling more to people who buy irregularly. So this is now the newest theory. Loyalty, in a sense of business, is not necessarily the most rewarding concept.
So you are saying it's good for the industry?
I think it's good for the industry.
Are you saying that because now you've also moved, so you better well say it's good?
I have to justify it to start with. But on a serious note, I think it's good for the industry because, like the industry was getting a little staid. Another thing that needs to happen quickly to the industry is people from slightly outside and periphery of the industry need to come into the industry. Like I want somebody from, like Google to join the advertising industry. I mean, it could be in our organization, could be in some other organization. But those are the things which can, like
rejuvenate
the space. We need, it was getting a little staid.
How does the new year look for the industry? Are you seeing people in general spending more, less cautious, and will budgets actually go up? Are we going to see some real movement? Okay.
What I'm increasingly seeing and feeling very happy about is that people have started realizing that supply chain and all doesn't make a company valuable. Is the brand which makes a company valuable. The focus had shifted so much onto things like, supply chain and financial restructuring and everything. That doesn't make the company valuable. It makes the company efficient. What makes the company valuable is how people are
perceiving you.
And that is what is coming back. If you see the whole e-com companies, how did they start becoming the biggest, spender? Yeah. Not for nothing, right? Because they could have spent all their money and time producing fantastic software and fantastic backend and fantastic supply chain. They did all of that and realized that eventually the difference will be made in people's head.
Sure.
One is physical availability, another is mental availability.
Sure.
I think people are increasingly understanding mental availability more important is more important than physical availability.
So you're saying advertising you'll regain its spot in the sunlight in the next year?
Exactly, because like people are increasingly understanding that valuation is an emotional game.
On that note, Partha, thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to be keeping a close eye on what you're up to with Prasoon at McCann, and we're awaiting some grand news in the new year.
Thank you very much, and hopefully we should be able to give you some good news, throughout the year of 2016. Thank you.
Impatience is in vogue, and going by the way this generation consumes and interacts, it's not going out of fashion anytime soon. The repercussions for the advertising industry are mammoth, as no one wants to spend time dedicated to watching a TVC or looking at a print ad. But few things are as universal and conducive to unadulterated happiness as music. 6 years since its inception, and the Bacardi NH7 Weekender stands testimony to just this fact. Now known as the place to be for young music enthusiasts, India's music carnival is everything a youth brand could ever want to be. Cool, different and undeniably fun. A perfect platform for brands struggling to find a connect with a demographic that gives most marketers many a sleepless night. The youth. Here's a look at how brands are upping their game and doing a lot more than they did earlier to speak the same lingo as today's youth. Vijay reports. Five cities, over 150 performers, and a record-breaking 70,000 passes sold. The NH7 Weekender has come a long way since its modest start in 2010 with a minimal budget of 10 lakhs. This record-breaking edition of NH7 was fueled not only by breathtaking performances by legends like A.R. Rahman, but also by several brands who have put their hearts, souls and their wallets into making the Weekender the happiest music festival for everyone present there.
Well, NH7 I think is probably one of the highest sponsored properties in India at this point of time. We have some incredible relationships with brands such as Bacardi, who are the title sponsors. In fact, they're pretty much like partners, not just sponsors in that sense. We started the festival together and they've been with us with all their brands, Bacardi, Duos, Grey Goose, Breezer. So it's good to kind of work with one client, which is so many. And apart from that, we've been very tactical in terms of all the partnerships. So we have somebody like a Swiggy for food, we have Ola for travel, we have Reposo at the fashion side of it. So we've looked at what are the major pegs at NH7 and we found a brand to kind of work with them on that. And then brands like Mercedes, who again have been very long-term partners with NH7 now. In comparison to last year, this year it's almost a 100% increase in spends, even in terms of sponsorship and also activation. The fact that it's a fixed thing in the calendar helps brands plan much in advance, and we have a clear idea of who our audience is, so people kind of plan accordingly.
One name that everyone who walks out of the Weekender is familiar with is Bacardi. As the title sponsor of the entire musical event, Bacardi pulled out all stops to put on a show that was nothing short of spectacular. Bacardi's branding at NH7 was one which was completely unmissable, with their names on everything from the stage to the juice cups. But this was not all. Bacardi also made a huge impact on concert goers with their Ferris wheel and numerous stalls, particularly the Oculus Rift roller coaster simulation that created the illusion of zipping through the Weekender on a roller coaster. In terms of sponsorship monies, the Weekender has done very well, raking in close to 4 crores, which is a whopping 40% more than 2014.
Bacardi NH7 Weekender over the last few years, we put together a giant Ferris wheel with Bacardi branding. we put together a balloon which gave a aerial view of the festival for select consumers.
I think if you look at all the brands, what Bacardi is doing is probably the smartest in terms of A, it's subtle, it's not all in your face all over the place. But I think in terms of from naming stages, so you kind of walk around the bazaar and you have kids saying, you know what, you want to go to the Breeza Beat camp or you want to go to the Bacardi arena. I think from a brand's perspective, that's ultimately what you want, to kind of be associated with an event or a festival so much that you're irreplaceable in that sense.
Bacardi, being the title sponsor, is also the biggest spender at NH7, contributing close to 50% of the Weekender's total advertising revenue. A new face and a big spender at the Weekender was Savan, spending close to 50 lakhs as a sponsor partner. The music app seized the opportunity to have access to thousands of music lovers in one location. With a special Savan studio, a selfie station, exclusive playlists curated by the artists themselves, and a chance to meet the artists, the music app most certainly made their presence at the Weekender known. Brands like Motorola and Jack & Jones also spend similar amounts to associate themselves with this music carnival.
These are all people who are so passionate about their music that they come and congregate in so many numbers, I don't think any brand can get such collective audience who is passionate about music at one place. Specifically for Savan, it'll obviously people who are interested in music. You can actually see artist curated playlists. If you just now also search on Savan, just type NH7 and see what comes up. You'll see best of NH7. You'll see artist curated playlists such as Ankur Tiwari's playlist. Then there's something that we are doing for the first time, which means we are doing an audio documentary where we are covering all the festivals in an audio documentary format, and it will be made available on Savan as a podcast. This has been done for the first time.
Making its NH7 debut and beating out some stiff competition was food partner Swiggy. The rapidly growing food delivery app that is giving Zomato a run for its money dominated the festival, partnering with a total of 9 restaurants at the Weekender.
NH7 has always got a great target market, so we are trying to catch the real guys and girls who are actually there for food, hungry for food, and we're trying to give out the best service to them. So it's a great visibility for us, great customer service experience that we're trying to bring in, and I think that's about it. The activation is something which drives service for me, and Swiggy is based out of customer experience and service, and I'm trying to drive that, and NH7 is giving me a great platform to do that.
Needed a ride to the Weekender? Or a ride back after? Well, there was Ola to take care of that. And Ola took it one step further by delivering tickets to its consumers and creating a remote-controlled race car track in their Weekender stall.
So I think you just need to find your consumers where they are, right? So it's getting harder to find them on television, on print, etc. Print, of course, doesn't really attract them in any way. So to find them where they are, which is increasingly becoming digital and perhaps on ground. So what we do at Ola is we activate before the event and after the event. Before the event, we try and create unique experience for consumers, make it really easy for them to get to the event and access the event. So what you do is if you open your app if you're attending NH7 and you open your Ola app on the morning of NH7, you'll see an icon which says NH7 right next to your sedan, mini and usual icons. If you click on that, there's a cab that's going to be near you, and of course if you're lucky, and that cab is going to deliver tickets to you right to your doorstep. So it gives you access to NH7 before the event itself.
Food partner Swiggy, transport partner Ola and Mercedes spent approximately between 20 to 30 lakhs to participate at the Weekender this year. Mercedes continued to be a loyal partner and made a compelling bid for consumers' attention with not one but 2 interactive stalls. These stalls were designed to impact the younger generation and build their brand image in their minds. This way, in a few years, when they start thinking about buying a car, Mercedes will be top of that list. Substantial media spends on activation programs could also be the reason that Mercedes made it into the top 10 most exciting brands this year.
The trick is not always to do the same thing over and over again just because it worked once. I think that the challenge for our creative team is really to go out and come up with new things that we might want to do next year differently, and I invite everybody to drop by and see what other things we can come up with. Mercedes has certainly changed for the younger. We need to work now on the customers of the future. I can't just simply walk up to somebody when they turn 35 and they are into money and suddenly say, here we are as a brand. So the earlier you can engage and the less friction there is in the contact, the better for everybody.
With a turnout like this and the increasing level of intolerance towards traditional advertising from today's youth, brands have no reason not to invest in activation programs. The challenge, however, lies in finding that fine line between integrating the brand message and bombarding the consumer. And by the looks of things, brands are up for this challenge.
Now, despite all the noise about home 3D printing, adoption remains slow and the market's barely taken off. Dubbed as the third industrial revolution, additive manufacturing or 3D printing is supposed to unleash a series of benefits for businesses. But non-forward thinking is setting the technology back. Numerous obstacles standing in the way of 3D printing adoption, including lack of awareness by top management, the existence of affordable solutions, sustainability, industry standards, and concerns around intellectual property. Given that, 3D home printing adoption is even slower, so much so that some experts even question whether there's genuine consumer demand for such machines. Pamela Ambler reports.
Hand testing.
A voice-controlled robot created using state-of-the-art home 3D printing technology. Designer Ricky Ma has been building robots like this for the past 5 years.
電腦嘅 3D 嘅 software 度咧就係
I complete the design of the robot hand on the computer first, and then I print out each part and manually assemble the robot arm together.
每部分去再編翻出嚟，再組裝。
Ma's older creations were made using molds, but he turned to 3D printing technology about a year ago. The printed parts are lighter in weight compared to the molds he used before. The technology's also gotten a lot faster.
去製作一個嘅咁嘅機械人咧。
Traditionally, to create a body of a robot, it would take weeks, but now it'll take a few days to make a body. Modifying it is also easier.
見到嗰個修改添咯。
What you're seeing here is a replica of the Rodin thinker statue being printed layer upon layer. The model will take less than an hour and a half to complete. The purpose of these 3D printers is not to mass manufacture, rather to build prototypes for better final products. The plastics required to fabricate Ricky's latest prototype cost just $400, and the most basic 3D printers cost as little as a few hundred.
It's been a lot more expensive in the past to prototype, 10,000 plus Hong Kong dollars to make a prototype, and it's outsourced. You don't have a lot of control over it, and when you go to do things like multiple iterations of design, you end up paying over and over again. It's like a vicious cycle.
Despite the advances in speed as well as cost savings, 3D printing remains a long way off mass market adoption, and many in the sector are struggling to stay afloat. Last month, one of the biggest names in the industry, MakerBot, announced it was laying off 20% of its entire workforce.
As a consumer product, it's still very difficult to use. It's not, I can push a button, I can see what I want, and out it comes. You still need to really know how to use 3D modeling, how to use CAD applications in order to make something happen.
Still, increasing affordability as well as new software catering to designers of all abilities could yet turn the market around. And with stakeholders racing to take the lead in a crowded marketplace, it could just be a matter of time before sophisticated 3D printed products at home become commonplace.